Welcome back, guys, to another video. You got Misfit Chris here, and today we're going to be talking about Sony PVMs and whether you should own one or not. So the two models that I do have today to show you guys are both 8-inch Sony PVMs that I picked up for about $50 for both. And we're going to be talking about the 8045Q 8-inch and the Sony 8044Q 8-inch. And they're very similar units, but they have a few little differences. And so we're going to be talking about whether or not you should pick one up, because they are pricey and they are plagued with issues. So a lot of the time, and pick one of those up or CRT, which is your better choice. So without further ado, let's get into this video and show you guys these PVMs. So you can literally pick one up by a handle like this. So it's got a handle like that, and then you can just carry it. So anyways, I just wanted to show you guys that. And then we're gonna also be showcasing Final Fight on the 8045Q 8-inch. But first up, we're gonna show you the 8044Q 8-inch. So let's go check it out. As you can see down here on the bottom, you got all your controls, your RGB, which is a square button there, and you got your blue only, underscan, and HV delay, and you can manually adjust the RGB with all those 6 holes there. And then you got your APER and brightness, chroma, phase, and contrast, and volume, and power button. Now here on the back, you got your line A and your line B, so you can actually have two consoles connected at once. And on your line A, you get your Y/C in and your out. That's for your S video, and then you also got your RGB inputs on the bottom there. And down here on the bottom, you got your AC in and your DC in, so it can be connected either way. And you also got battery bays. You used to be able to put batteries in these, and then you got your model number down there. So now let's showcase Final Fight on the other model, the 8045Q 8-inch. The one we just looked at before that was the 8044Q. Now this one actually has 8 buttons, and it has a degauss there on the bottom left. And so other than that, it's not really too much different. They're both HR high resolution Trinitrons. And I just picked up this Final Fight, and I wanted to showcase it on this PVM. And so we're running RGB to the Super Nintendo here, and to me it looks very crisp, and it's almost like I guess it would be kind of a weird way to describe it, but it looks very crisp and creamy clear. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but yeah. So instantly, right away, I noticed a difference with the RGB. This is my first time experience with it, and also a PVM. So one of the things to be aware of on a PVM is you got to be aware of burn-in. So there's actually burn-in on both these monitors. It's not noticeable. It's actually down there on the right. You can't even see it. Usually it's on light colored surfaces, or it's white. You can kind of notice the burn-in. Now this monitor does have issues, but they're very minor, and so you can't really notice anything here on this recording. However, when I was using a Sega Genesis on this, the RGB, because it natively supports RGB just like the Super Nintendo. Also the Saturn supports native RGB through RGB cables. So, but I did notice on the Sega that there was like some sort of interference or something, and so that's why I got the Super Nintendo hooked up here, because I had the best signal through RGB with the RGB cables on the Super Nintendo. So these are actually the best selling monitors on eBay, and they sell the most of these, and it's the highest selling models. Far as the Sony PVMs go, I imagine because it's so easy to pack them up and ship them. So a lot of these boards, I've actually opened up one of these units. So a lot of these boards will have issues from cold solder joints and just being old in general, you know. So if you're not tech savvy, or you're not willing to put out the money to somebody that is tech savvy, you know, these can get very expensive, you know. I mean, this one here, it does have burn-in, so it probably would go for a little bit like lower of a price, you know, but I mean, it's fully functional, and it does have some issues, but you know, this is probably worth at least $250 in the condition it is, or maybe, you know, it could go for $300, just depending on who you were to sell it to. Now on a, you know, also on some of the smaller end CRTs, they're almost just as expensive on eBay, you know. So I have a smaller, like 14-inch, double the size of this Trinitron, and those are highly sought after, and so they can go for about $300 themselves. But I would try to get as new of a Sony Trinitron CRT consumer-based model as possible, you know, the newer year, and do your research on it, because it's actually a better option in my opinion on a PVM. And now that I've learned more about PVMs, I mean, their picture is it's awesome. It looks so good, but you know, you got to be willing to shell out the money, and it can get really expensive if you have to have somebody to fix it. I mean, you're into it $300, then you're talking another $150, $200 easy, you know, plus shipping or whatever, depending on where you live or how you're gonna, you know, who you're gonna send it to or what kind of deal you're gonna get, you know. So would I recommend getting a PVM to the average person? No. Would I recommend a PVM to people that are into retro gaming and have some knowledge of soldering? And you know, yes, I would recommend it to, you know, people that have a knowledge of soldering, or, you know, willing to tinker around on them, you know, without worrying about you know, messing it up. And I am one of those people. And also I picked these up because I got them very cheap. I got both units, like I said, for $50 for both, you know, so you really can't go wrong. All right, guys, so those are my Sony PVMs, and I'm a very proud owner of those two. And yeah, so let me know what you think about the Sony PVMs that I picked up down in the comments, you know, if you're gonna, you know, be getting into looking to get one or whatnot, you know. So yeah, so the main thing with Sony PVMs, like I was saying back there, is that they have issues, you know, cold solder joints, which can cause issues with the picture. Also, you can have black and white issues, you know, and there's a whole bunch of other issues and adjustments that need to be made to get it back into proper form, you know. And so I'm still not quite there yet myself, you know. There can usually be a lot of convergence issues, you know, and all kinds of little issues. So, you know, so yeah, anyways, I was going to say that the bigger CRTs are actually on the cheaper end, as far as, you know, Sony goes. And that's where you're probably going to get your better deal, like on a TV. So if you're willing to get a bigger one, you're probably going to get a better deal, because a lot of people don't really want to hold on to the bigger ones as much as smaller CRTs. Sony Trinitron consumer bases are almost just as popular as the Sony PVMs. So, but I do think that the consumer-based television really is the best route and the most dependable, especially if you're trying to go for some of the last-in models that were made, where a lot of the components and there's not as much issues, you know. Also to note, on the Sony Trinitron consumer-based flat ones that don't have the curved front, those can have a lot of geometry issues that you're going to have to go in and fix. But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining me on this video today. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell for all future notifications for all future uploads, guys. And I will catch you guys on the next one.